Yeah, so about the training, what was the training like and what did it entail?
It's a lot of it was bringing in, teaching me about ascension process, about how you go through this thing, how your biology changes. As far as the training specifically, we had the standard education stuff that you learn in school. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
not but it was, history, languages, sciences type thing.
Mm-hmm.
You learned how to blend with people. You learned how to look human, act human, which I'm not great at, apparently. The mind body between stuff, the making sure you have control over your emotions. These don't sound related, but they are. Your emotions are one of the core things that will trigger a lot of the psychic ability. Getting angry about something can be dangerous, especially if you're dealing with somebody who's potentially electrokinetic. You have
Sure.
get defensive, you have somebody get anything, and if that accidentally pops off, people can get hurt.
Yeah.
Training is extremely important. Keeping your emotions under control. You can't even let trauma build up
Mm-hmm.
because, again, your emotions go off into left field. And let's say you had another, give another example of somebody like Charles Manson. Imagine if he was pyrokinetic.
Yeah. Okay.
Emotions be dealt with.
So you went to school there, you had some, I guess you could call it psychic training, esoteric training. About the ascension, what did they tell you about the ascension? Like what does it even mean in their system and why would you be taught that?
It's a kind of philosophical approach.
Mm-hmm.
It is part of their belief systems. It's not a religion.
Yeah, I got it.
So yeah, it's kind of like the same way, kind of the same way that you see the Buddhist and Hindu approach.
Mm-hmm.
Constant state of bettering yourself, of balancing out your karma and your dharma, of making sure your energetic flow is fluid.
I see.
Understand as much as you can, because you start by connecting to planets. But if you can connect to a planet, if you can connect to a person, if you can connect to an animal, you can connect to the universe.
Yeah.
They're all living organisms, and it's just a matter of perspective. And this is where ascension comes in as far as you're walking your path. Part of your path is that constant development. If you stay in stagnation, you will not grow. You must keep moving, you must keep rebalancing yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
all of
Wow.
that connects to, I guess you'd say, unity.
I see. So those had to be not regular teachers at all. Do you remember any of them? And do you know like what their job was? Maybe they were like meditation teachers or something else. No?
History, science, language. They did the standard ones as far as the specialists who trained
Mm-hmm.
in abilities.
Right.
They were in a lab. They weren't teachers.
Right.
We have the teachers who educated us. You
Mm-hmm.
had the lab technicians who experimented with us,
Mm-hmm.
and you had support staff that took care of the household. Like Nan was support staff. She literally
I
took
see.
care of the house, and it was me and five other girls. And we all stayed in this one house that, for whatever reason, they kept separate from the dormitories because there were three dormitories,
Mm-hmm.
and it
So
wasn't.
how many children were there? Do you remember?
I never thought to take a. I think if I had to hazard a guess, I'd say 500 to 1,000.
Oh my God,
But
really?
yes, yeah,
Wow.
I
That's
wasn't
a big
a special being in the school. I was just a student.
okay. So this was all within this project you're saying, right?
Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
this
And
all
all of
problem.
them were all of them were hybrids visibly,
Yes.
or you just knew that they were hybrids because they had abilities and it was talked about?
Half and half. But half of the students who you'd see there were visibly hybrid and would never be able to integrate in society.
I
Okay,
see.
that was not going to happen. When I was younger, I had blue tints around the edge. When I was about 20, that went away. Okay, for the most part, mine can be covered up with makeup. You know, and most people don't really say anything more than, wow, your eyes are weird. Beyond that, they don't. So they're fairly dismissive. And like I said, when I was 20, the blues on the edge, light blues, like your shirt blue, okay, that faded away. Okay, before that, I just covered it up with makeup. The other girls in my house, I don't know why we were kept separate, but it was me and 5 other girls who were aquatic species. It's just neat. I always found them kind of interesting. They had like that boy. When I was testing, there was a smaller boy.
Like the boy in Agartha? Yeah.
Yeah, he had that same. I think the best way to say it is like they had petal-shaped ears.
Yeah.
It was like bump, bump, bump. And these girls, man, sorry, I thought they were really neat. They were great about socializing with people. They were like social butterflies.
Okay. Their faces were mostly like our faces, or they were no?
Here, let me put it down. Let me give you right around here. They were different. If you can imagine ridges here, okay, they didn't have hair on their face. There was something here. I'm assuming it's related to how they breathed. I don't know. We weren't exactly friends, but they were fun to watch. But they had, and then you want to add longer
You mean they
necks.
had gills?
I don't know. It didn't look like gills. It really didn't. That's why I hesitate to say it that way. It was a growth looking thing.
Okay.
It's not like I went up to him and went, here, let me look at your hair. Yeah. Which, yeah, I didn't get that close there. They had hair on their head, but they did have longer fingers. A lot of times ran around without shoes, so they had longer, weird shaped feet.
Okay. So visibly hybrid, not
Visibly.
human. Okay. Any other types? These are the aquatics. Any other types that stand out maybe?
The reptilian kids definitely stood out.
Okay.
I mean, big. Okay. The same 8-year-old that I would see that was an aquatic kid was not as big as this 16-year-old looking 8-year-old reptilian hybrid. Okay, they are big people. And yes, with him, it was more apparent. It was more of a question if he was any human.
Okay.
Yeah, apparently reptilian, So they are a ton of muscle. Okay?
Right.
I don't think they have that. Maybe that's why they got to eat more of it. I don't know. But they are just solid masses of. Sorry, it's just part of that was. I don't think they. I think they're another species that really doesn't like a lot of other species.
I see.
They're the top of the apex predator, which some of them. But in general, don't piss off anything that's dragon or reptilian or anything.
So socially, how did this work? Did everybody get along, and like in general, did the teachers? They must have known about this forever. Like no one thought it was weird that all these kind of people were around. It was like an alternative reality kind of thing, right?
Well, they were debriefed about it before they got there. They knew what they were getting. See, the teachers, there's no way to hide this from anybody.
Of course, yeah.
But it has that kind of, we lived on our own niche of the world and we're disconnected from, bloody everything. But it protected us. And yes, it is very apparent because look, the kid I keep describing, I saw him around all the time, so I always kind of watched him.
Yeah.
And there's no way he could ever walk around.
Yeah.
Just plainly, even I can't even imagine how big he is now. But there's no way. And that's not something you could have hid from teachers or anyone else. This is why everyone who worked on the staff was some sort of special forces,
Sure.
some sort of or government connection.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
they knew.
yeah. So were you ever told, like, were all these kids brought from somewhere on Earth, or were they maybe from other places too?
No, they were all born here, like
All,
me.
all
They
born
were
here. Okay. Wow.
created. Most likely, most reptilians are hatchlings.
I see.
So most likely they were, I guess you'd say, created here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to use born just to use something easy.
Okay.
But you know, it didn't matter the species. Everybody who was there was a descendant of the colony. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know to what full extent, though. I mean, look, I understood there were other royal bloodlines there, but I was never really allowed to interact with them. And the way they kept the quasi peace, no, it was not peaceful. No, we didn't get along with each other. But the way it was worked out
Mm-hmm.
is that you would have species that were copacetic with each other in one dormitory. You have, like I said, I don't know why we were sectioned off into the house, but we were. And out of 3 dormitories, like, you wouldn't want to mix people who are, but
Cats,
at the
cats and dogs, right?
Yeah, cats and a few fish. But but for the most part, you just kind of, the ones who can live with each other, you put together. The ones who fundamentally hate each other, you keep them apart. And yeah, there's going to be problems because kids are kids. You know, you get a reptilian kid who has that strong, dominant look. The way we express who we are is top dog wins. You know, the person who has the best muscle, who can beat you down, is the winner. Kids, you know, it's all kids are kind of like pack animals.
Okay.
So
wow. Did they all get the same education though? Like, did the reptilian kid, for example, have to learn human history? Really?
No, he probably learned about his people. Sorry, that's where I just altered, because it was like, yeah, it never occurred to me that they would get a different history, but they taught me separate Syrian and separate Anunnaki and Anuna histories.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's important. I mean, to mention.
for my heritage, yeah, it's important. For his heritage, it wouldn't mean a damn thing.
Sure.
Presumably.
Yeah.
You know, for him, I would think they would have taught him something connected to his people.
So the material, the teaching materials, the textbooks, you had all that for all these histories? No?
Oh, we didn't have textbooks, so we didn't have papers.
Nothing like that?
We had computers.
Okay.
I don't remember a time in school where there wasn't computers. There was always computers.
Computers? So you were learning on computers? You
would read on the screen with monochrome screens. Okay. We weren't allowed to have like color screens, and now I understand why, but all of the screens were monochrome. And like I said, it was your basic standard technology. It wasn't like specialized. I didn't get anything specialized until I was about 24.
What you're saying is no VR, nothing like that, no holographic tech, nothing like that.
No.
Okay. So how would you learn that? You would just read stuff on the computer about like history, for example, your special history?
No. We had lectures, and we, like I said, you know, Nan taught me about the food, the environment, and the house, that basically on Vega, as far as how that went. I did have to learn to connect to the earth. I was taught a lot of tribal aspects here on Earth. And by that, they used Sioux methodologies. So when I was 12, I was taught by a Sioux shaman. Shunka taught me when I was 12, and he taught me how to connect to Earth.
Right.
It was kind of a part 2 to connect to Vega when I was younger, connect to Earth when I was here, and that's part of the requirement, though. It's as far, you have to be connected to your planet. I just happen to be connected to two.
Wow. So no real life assignments. Did you guys, when you went
No.
out, did you ever go out off the compound? What did you do? What kind of activities did you have?
When I was 13, I earned the privilege, because evening was a privilege. I earned the privilege, which basically meant I could blend with everybody. And that was the makeup. We learned a lot of special effects makeup. But I went to go see Swan Lake.
Whoa.
And me and the girls, that was the first time I got to go out. First time I got to go to the theater. Granted, we had to take, the Australian driver, but he kept us. So, but the three of us girls got to go to Swan Lake and see it for the first time.
Amazing.
Yeah, that was in itself almost like a rite of passage.
Swan Lake, where? Where did you go?
Oh, we went to this little theater in London. I mean, it was a little no-name theater, but we were working on blending. Nobody noticed.
Right. So this was both your excursion and an exercise, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Everything is a test. Everything is a lesson. Everything is something. Nothing is never just, you get to go out and have fun. It's kind of, when your life is constantly a state of work, you take fun kind of at breadcrumbs.
You said that you had to earn it. What did you have to do? Like to prove that you can blend or something?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. You had to be able to walk human, talk human, act human. Yeah,
but don't you, like, naturally, or like you specifically?
Not me specifically, no.
I see.
Me specifically, I'm still terribly awkward. I've lived with people for 4 years now. And no, I'm not good at it. I have a tendency to get terribly shy. And when I'm around crowds, I kind of want to melt into the wall most time. I'm not good at it.
All right. So with all this training for so many years, did you ever wonder like what they were preparing you for? Did they tell you what this was all for? Because this seemed like a massive project with so many people involved, so much effort and stuff. What was it all about?
Well, like I said, we're all descendants of colonies, or not colonies, of the colony. As far as and if we're just going by my genealogy as timeline, we're talking 151 generations. This is just a little bit. When we're talking, 500 to 1,000 kids. As far as some were weaponized, some were bloodlines, and between the of the different bloodlines, that house mandates how those kids are handled and taught. Okay. My house governed how I was handled and taught. Council has had custody of me, if you will, from the beginning.
So what you're saying, this was a purely ET program, or it was an ET coordinated program? No,
it's both. In the aspect of the house, think of the house like your parent. Okay, so reptilian kid running around. Okay, whoever his species is, they're the one in charge of how everything goes down for him. And they have to give assuming his house works like mine. The house has to give final approval for anything you're trained in. So if I was to be trained in something covert, the house has to approve that. Now, at the same time, they also pull back. So if they don't want me learning something, or they don't want that other kid learning something, they don't get taught it. Okay?
And the house being your family, that is family. on Vega.
Not just in this case, the
Mhm.
Anuna have been in charge of my childhood from up until this point.
Okay.
Council had custody. The Anuna have been in charge of educating me and teaching me socializations, which they taught me Anuna society.
Did you ever meet them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've met, many of them. That doesn't sound right, but I've met other family members.
I see. Okay.
Mostly, I've had a lot of uncles pop in. So,
Mhm.
but it's nothing on the aspect of like going out, hanging out, partying type thing. If family shows up, they're here for a reason. So when uncles show up, it's business. They have something that needs to go down or something to that effect. A lot of times it's usually, okay, you're going to come with me. We're going to get you trained for whatever this, up until this point, has been training me to be presented towards council to be accepted by them, which I did in February 2020. So now I am training in the aspect of learning the bureaucratic aspects in how domestic affairs are handled.
And where are they located?
They took me to the colony ship. That's where they did all the training. And the colony ships are spheres. So, it's a bio ship that you grow the panels, and it's a different type of consciousness. It's biological,
4D,
but
4D.
No, it's a ship.
No, I mean you said consciousness.
Yeah, ship has a consciousness that is artificially created.
Oh, I got it. Yeah.
But there are biological aspects interwoven in the technology. So it's not the same type of AI system you would see here that is strictly tech. This has those biological elements that allow for neural network connections so that ship can actually pick up emotion. She understands the word she loosely. She understands she's a ship, and she understands that she's an AI.
She's an
but
AI,
she also gets pissy if you try and rename her.
She's also alive and conscious.
Yeah. She's very conscious of who and what she is and what her purpose there is for.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
About the Anuna, what do they look like? Is this the Anuna that we see on the Mesopotamian art? The same type of guys with beards?
The past 5,000 years, there's something too modern with those. Those aren't quite correct. The Anuna do have elongated skulls, longer than Syrians. They do have, well, they've got a variety of colors on the hair. But yeah, for the most part, do look like people, just big versions. I mean, seriously. Compared to Nin-Ki, I'm about half his size.
Okay.
So I would be considered a dwarf.
I see. The skin, can you describe the skin? And I mean the look, the outside look.
They look much like us. Seriously. Blue eyes, that again, paler skin. I mean, not influenced by this, but their skin tone is affected by a red star.
Okay.
So that has a slight difference in color. They don't have, how human skin is a little bit ruddy, I believe is the correct word. They don't have that part of it. I think it would be safe to say they look more like porcelain doll skin.
Which is white.
The red light makes it flawless. That's what I'm getting to, is that, flawless porcelain look, texture thing. I don't know quite one word to put that to, but there's this kind of that brown element that I'm talking about that's pretty. That's not there.
Okay.
But as far as the biology, okay, again, I'm pretty sure they don't have body fat whatsoever.
Okay.
Height-wise, Nin-Ki is a bit shorter, but I think the average I think I'm gonna have to say 17 to 20 feet tall, which sounds very damn, but they're not small people.
Mm-hmm.
And it was odd to talk to them.
Huge.
Yeah, it's
So
odd.
the hair has different color hair, very white skin, blue eyes,
They will
right?
dye their hair too.
Mm-hmm.
Because as far as, what they look like, yes, women wear makeup, they will dye their hair. They have, I think everything else is pretty standard. They don't have the 6 fingers. That's different species of big ass people.
Okay.
Yeah, not the 6 fingers, not the double rows of teeth, not on them. They
Mm-hmm.
do have the elongated skulls, the blue eyes, the pale skin. For the most part, the hair is dark. But like I said, there's a lot of people who dye their hair, just like here.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that's where they learned it from as far as Earth.
So
But
your family would be this particular species. About the 6 fingers, yeah, I heard about it. So that's not the same race, right?
it's not the Anuna. That is a different species of big ass people.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I will say on the biological, to give you another example of somebody who was dominantly Anuna, would be Gilgamesh, as far as they found his body. That's why I'm bringing in 2005, they found his body. So as far as now, he had red, the dark red that I was telling you about before, he had that in his beard.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
He 2/3 Anuna, and he was 17 feet tall. This
Okay.
was publicly announced in archaeology.
Oh.
It was a huge deal. So
Mm.
that's why I'm like, not a secret. It's just nobody paid attention.
So the so-called stasis being, right, with the red beard, long red beard, no? Not the one?
He was in stasis. I don't really know what the hell happened with him. He was not in stasis, but his skin was discolored as though he had been deprived of oxygen for a very long time.
Okay.
But see, that's the thing. The texture of his skin, though, that's the confusing thing. If you took somebody and they had been dead, say, 16 hours, okay, still looks like they could be alive, still looks like they could be asleep. Just take the color and change it to this bluish, gray, darkish thing.
Okay.
And that's what color his skin was. But you could still see his beard had not disintegrated. His hair had not disintegrated. The ¿cómo se dice? Viscosity of the skin, I think would be the best way to say it. He looked like he had not been dead that long.
Yeah. Cool.
But I'm telling you, what fascinated me was he had gold plates. And some of it Phoenician, some of it looked Egyptian, some of it looked Greek.
Wow. Okay. All right. Okay, so there is even more to talk about this time. But we will. So generally, Project Stargate, did they announce to you that it was failed and now you're kind of free to go, or what happened?
No, for me, it was
You went
I kind of begged
you went off
and
world,
begged and begged to go on to an off-world project. Yeah.
right? Which
And
we'll
when
talk
I came
about.
back, yeah, right.
Uh-huh.
I was 24 when I ended with Stargate.
Okay. So all the questions about that I will save for the next time. You kind of knew that the project was officially failed after you returned, or how did that came about? How did that come
It's
about?
officially failed.
It's officially failed. Okay.
Officially, publicly.
Right. Okay. I see. All right then.